Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we start off by saying hello to YouTube because they won't know what's going on. It'll probably take them a couple weeks, couple days, before this is up. I mean, later throughout the week. So, hi YouTube. First off, I hope you're doing well, and I know that there's gonna be a lot of weird comments on here. Just ignore that because some of these were just random questions. Um, but yeah, hi Evertube, hi Crater, hi Facebook, hi Instagram, Vimeo, Reddit apparently, and everyone in between. Hope you guys are having a good day. We're just gonna go ahead and get started with episode 2, and we're gonna see what we can get. Real quick, don't get mad if I don't analyze every single little aspect of it. Nobody can ever analyze every single aspect of it. It's our first watch through, quite literally, as we're going through it. I will be pausing for those of you that are new in the chat and that are just lurkers. I will be pausing and talking about it. I'll probably be having a discussion with everyone on chat. I'll be looking over to chat and stuff because sometimes there are really good discussion points over there. So just pay attention to that and let's just go ahead and jump into it. I think that's probably the best way to say it.
母親が怪しい宗教にはまってしまってね。財産をすべて貢いだどころじゃ済まなくて、多額の借金まで背負ってしまって。結局、去年の暮れに協議離婚が成立して、私はお父さんに引き取られ、ここで二人で暮らしているわ。
In case you guys are wondering real quick, I do have an analysis to make, but the ones that we recorded yesterday got a copyright strike or something. But regardless, it was unpublished. Luckily, I was able to save it. It'll be up on YouTube later on for episode 1. My big thing is just off of that little snippet of dialogue that was placed there. I wonder what I don't know how to put it, the hermetic, the curse that this, Senjugahara even has in general, just sort of how it came to be, right? Because one of the big things that I kept stating in the previous episode, yes, you guys are being recorded. All of your comments do pop up on chat and YouTube and stuff later on. But no, one of the big things that I will also go ahead and say is um what is it? In the previous episode I was talking a lot about the positioning and the framing that you can tell that there was a lot of how to put it, history between the main character and I think it was the president. Am I right? You guys were there for that. But yes, that girl, what was her name? Hanekawa, I believe, if I remember correctly, because this is Senjugahara, right? Uh, so with Hanekawa, and you have to remember, this is my first introduction to everything. This is literally me just making logical conclusions and all of that. So all of that, like the behavior that was introduced, the way that they were going to go ahead and establish certain settings just off of that, and the whole form of control or the form of that they were I don't know how to put it, it was like a weird negotiation thing. You can tell that there's been a lot of history and a lot of tension between, I guess Hanekawa and the main character. I don't remember his name, guys. I am so sorry. It's easier for me to remember the other characters' names. I don't know why. Just throw that out there. uh, but the point being is I don't know. You could just tell because of the framing, because of everything. And the more that I thought about it at night, the more that Araragi. Yes, okay, Aragi, right? Araragi or whatever. I'm just gonna call him Ara just from now on, guys. Just letting you guys know it's a lot easier for me to go ahead and keep that in my head. Ara. God damn it. Dude, you got me good. Okay. Anyway, the point being is between these two, there seems to be a lot of tension. And a lot of history that you can tell has already been built up just off of that introduction. And it wasn't even like they were going hard at it, but just off of this little beginning 1 minute 30-second piece, one of the things that comes into mind is if they're giving out away this exposition of oh, her mother whatever through a cult, I wonder what expectations she has in regards to just family nature. Where does she stand in regards to her family? Does the expectations that she place on oneself, is that higher than the amount of I don't know how to put it, socialization? Because you can tell Ada dude is straight up kind of antisocial. He's kind of withdrawn comparatively to everyone else just based off of the behavior that he's showing. So it just I don't know. There's a lot of questions that come into my mind. This was one of the theories that kept coming in, which is sort of, you have this basic introduction of all these characters, but you also have like this weird dynamic that's already flowing between all three of them, right? So I just wonder, like, one, was Senjogahara overhearing the conversation that was happening between the president and Ara Ara dude, or was it simply just like being there at the right time at the right place, you know? Like, there's a lot to go into that. There's a lot to go into the intricacies of what is help if you can't help yourself in that regard. So, trust me, there's a lot of logical conclusions because even in the irrational, there's a lot of rational base behind it because of attachments. Attachment is probably the number one thing, at least through an attachment perspective psychology, that will say, like, you know what, because of the attachments and because of the work that you've done, you're able to determine how you make relationships, how you make friendships, whether or not they're healthy or toxic or so on and so forth. You know, you can bring up a lot of good questions off. Something I've wondered is, and this is silly, and I hate to stop it immediately off of this, but like I wonder if this like opening theme song, this like the opening theme song is amazing, but I wonder if like I don't know how to put it. Like I already feel like there's more to it than like happy notes and everything. There's probably like a shit ton of clues, and you guys are just like, nope. Like don't even like look like. Don't spoil it, please, guys. No spoilers, but like that's exactly what I'm thinking. Oh look, a silent voice. Told you guys we were gonna watch it.
助けてくれるんですか？
ま、その方でお嬢ちゃんの気が楽だって言うならもらっておくことにしよっか。じゃあそうだね。10万円で。
10万円。
僕の時とは随分対応が違うな。そうだっけ？委員長ちゃんの時も確か10万円だったと思うけれど。
Oh, so they do have history like involved in this. What?
何でもかんでも愛に吸血鬼のせいにするな。
Had a feeling.
最初からしてろって言ってんだ。
持って入るのを忘れていたのよ。
だったら
Bruh, I hope that nothing else shows, because you have to remember TOS, guys.
柄物しか持っていない。
Alright, we're good, we're good. We're good, guys. We made it to the hard part without getting taken down.
まさかあなた私のヌードを見て欲情したのではないでしょう。最低。そんなことだからあなたは一生童貞なのよ。
一生？お前は未来から来た人なのか？
唾を飛ばさないでくれる？童貞。
Okay. How many of in here do not like Ram? Just show of hands. I'm doing a poll for a reason. Nobody? Is everyone team Ram in here? From ReZero? Okay, how many in here do not like Senjogahara? I love Ram. Ram is amazing. Alright. Do you guys like Senjogahara? Same thing. Ram is amazing. Sancho's amazing. So I will throw this out. Yeah, I will throw this out there just because there's a lot of people that will probably be like, and thank you for the censor bars. I really appreciate it. We were kind of pushing the limits there on Shakat. Fuck. We were pushing the limits on like, you know, what TOS might be and might not be. But no, the reason why I bring it up is because Senjogahara like is showing a lot of like the similar like shooting characteristics that Ram has in terms of like actually being able to like shoot off there are different types of Sundaras, but what I'm saying is like actually being able to give crap and take it back, but like there's always that, I don't know how to put it, like there's always individuals that will be like, oh no, not really, no. But what I'm talking about is the ability to actually be sarcastic in nature and have that back and forth. So one thing that I do see is a lot of testing of power dynamics inside of this already. So what I'm wondering though is, you know, yeah, fair. Because there's a lot of guys and there's a lot of individuals out there that will probably be like, oh yeah, no, I love Senjogahara because, or I love Ram because of this. Yet they won't be able to equate the things that like, you know, it's sort of like, at least in this one aspect, it's very similar, the way that they're like actually able to give you crap in a good way and like, you know, take it like, you know, if they'll flame you for a bit and that's healthy. That's okay, guys. You know, being a Rem is not okay. At least not like a complete blank slate Rem, or like put you on a pedestal Rem. You know, big difference. But another big thing that I was trying to bring up is I wonder where this relationship is going to end up in. You know, like their relationship together, because automatically what I'm starting to see is a lot of push in that regard, like push in the regard that like she's sort of like breaking into like the inner circle of trust, like high expectations, low hit, low expectations, high hit, like going back and forth. It's called pinging. If you're ever in like relationship psychology or whatever, one thing that you might hear a lot is called propinquity. And inside of this propinquity effect, and propinquity is the ability to like, you know, the more that you stay with someone, or the like, for example, the more we hang out, the more likely we are to like one another because we're hanging out, we're in the same environment, so on and so forth, right? Inside of propinquity, or inside of this like relationship that is being established, we tend to do, guys, girls, everyone in between, shit tests, right? And shit tests to determine, for example, do I have power over you? Am I power under you? Just in that regard, are you going to be able to step up and speak about your boundaries, or are you not? How are your relationships with your family, with your parents? Do you have a narrative outlook at that? Do I have a narrative outlook at that? And there's a lot of like contextualization in that, and even like, I don't know how to put it, the jokes, the inner jokes in between that, like breaking it off. What I've noticed is like in the first episode there was a lot of good tension that was like built up and immediately dropped off by like a comedic line, and it's like quite serious, you know, like it's sort of like that prying behavior, and then just drop off, prying behavior, and drop off. So now what I'm wondering is if this Ara dude knows what his boundaries are in that regard, right? Because clearly in that first episode you had a lot of tension between the class president and himself, and now you have a lot of weird tension between Senyugahara and him. And if so, if there's been like weird stuff that happened between the class president and Ara dude in the past, how does he differentiate where these boundaries are for himself? Or is he confused about them? I'm not even gonna try and remember Ara because I'm gonna fuck it up. I'm a stutter. That's exactly why I'm just saying Ara dude. Like Araragi. There you go. But that's the point, you know? Like, there's a lot of interesting points to go ahead and hit upon, and that's just, you know. I mean, I would have guessed it. Alright, dude.
それは本当に愉快な勘違いね。一番ダメなやつは一番愚かなだけなのに。いや、僕はそこまでは言ってません。顔に書いてある。
Okay, did you guys catch that shit test? Yeah? Did you guys catch that immediate shit test? It's like, it's essentially asking, like, what is your relationship with this woman, and trying to get that response out of him. So I wonder if, you know, if there is a great place to pause, right? If there has been any actual, like, tension or anything like boundaries or barriers crossed between Araragi, there, I said it, there you go, guys, and Hanekawa, who turned down who, or what ended up happening that caused this weird friction divide, because the way that he's bringing up and trying to like deflect the topic is very much I don't know how to put it. It's very much like, reminds me a lot of like guys who have like consistently been like, oh, it happened, but whatever, like, you know, like, let's quickly like move off of it, it's okay, like, you know, nothing's there, don't worry, blah 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 blah, you know. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's very apparent that, like, just character wise, that there seems to be, I don't know, it's like already forming a weird triad, like, of power. Oh, the flame is pretty good. Is it too heavy for you? Yeah. Whoa, guys. That's, oh, I swear.
おい、ちょっと待て。僕はそんな深刻なレベルの頭の悪さなのか？
偏差値チェック。私74。
僕46。
死者誤入すれば0ね。
はあ？嘘つけ。6だから。あ、お前、さては10の位を。僕の偏差値になんてことするんだ。
100。差をつけないと勝った気がしないのよ。
自分の数値も10の位を。
決めたわ。
I have a question for you. And this is just coming off of the like reflections of like, I don't know, if you guys had a curse of anything, right? For example, if you were weightless or if you were invisible or whatever. In the regards of just that setting, how does that change the way you interact with people? I.e., how long can you keep that a secret? Because, for example, if you go out telling everyone and it turns out to be true, you could be used for, scientific prodding, research, whatever, right? So how do you actually interact with people in a social environment like that and gain people's trust while also trying to be yourself? And this is this is a question I'll throw out to you guys. Like, how would you guys go about it? Because this is something that I'm trying to wrap my head around, and I'm like, this seems really hard. And if like, say that there was a cure for something like this, but the cure is, for example, it takes 20 years off of your life, or I don't know how to put it. It's like 51st dates where you'll forget everyone's names, or like, after a certain period of time, or even like reverse that where all of a sudden like you're no longer going to be able to talk, or you're no longer going to have your childhood memories, or so on and so forth. Would you guys accept such a risk? So that's what I want to go ahead and point out, like throw out to you guys, is like, if you guys were enabled with if you guys were enabled with like any type of like a curse or something like that, like invisibility or whatnot, would you guys take it? Like, would you guys take, first off, what would you guys do to socialize? And number two is, would you take a solution for it? It depends. Well, how do you guys socialize, for example? Like, those are important factors to go ahead and like just throw out there. Sure, invisibility is easy to hide, but then guess what? You're isolated. You're more than likely going to be depressed. You're going to go through a lot of lonesome factors. And if it's something that you can't control and you're only talking to people, they might just think you're a ghost. So that might be really, really difficult to go ahead and socialize with individuals. Stuff to think about, and would you be willing to take the risk? If in that situation, you're invisible and you've gone through all of these like features or feats trying to talk to people and no one wants to talk to you back because they're scared or whatever, would you take the risk of, for example, not being able to talk anymore or something like that? Yeah, but what if that goes away? So how do you do it, Master of Elements? So it's important to like analyze certain things like this, and you can talk to people on the internet. I mean, you could, but then let's go ahead and go into something like this. You talk to people on the internet, but you no longer have any like people that can actually directly talk to you, hug you, whatever. I think that would like, and I don't mean to be a hater, but people like Twitter isn't real. People on the internet are, while they are friendly and whatnot, you have to remember we need human factors as well. Hugs, like someone that you can directly talk to. Even if they annoy you, there's a reason why it's called socialization in that aspect. Now, network socialization is a little bit different unless we're talking about going into like the metaverse or VR chat or something like that. But might be a little bit difficult. I get a robot voice. Oh, incognito. I'm sorry to hear that. I gotta be honest, I've heard that that's like a really big fear for a lot of people, even like any Discord call or any call in general. For example, I get a call on my phone and I instantly get like anxiety and I'm like, I don't know if I should pick up or not, or what I should go ahead and do, like stuff like that. So I can't even imagine what that must be like for you. Sorry about that. In what aspect the real bung is? Because having a relationship and still like talking with your partner completely cool, but only talking to them can turn really toxic really quickly because there's no other outside socialization. You know, you still need people outside of a relationship to maintain, I don't know, your independency and who you are as a person. Yeah, I hope your situation gets better, man. Oh, so I'm sure that COVID hit you hard then, and I apologize for that. That sounds rough, man. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, like even any form of like social anxiety and stuff like that, which is a good aspect that this show might bring up, and this is something that like I'm sort of like kind of like want to touch with you guys on. Is like how do you deal with situations like that? Uh, okay, well, so something because and I guess this is something that can be like it's a really good conversation topic to have with anyone that's in the autistic spectrum. I used to be in a relationship with someone that was on the spectrum a long time ago, and it's like one thing that like they are told to believe is that like they don't have any empathy, but yet there's certain things that they get extremely attached to, right? That they show incredible amounts of emotions and whatnot too. So it's about being able to talk about, sort of like those boundaries and that like reset in case um, and how to handle certain things like that. But that's really big, and that's such a big thing to go ahead and do. And good on you for at least being there, even just attempting or talking or whatever you end up doing. It's really, really important just for any relationship to be able to communicate with your partner and set up boundaries and all of that. Super duper important. Um, but I mean, it's a cat create a second personality. I mean, if that works for you, right? There are some people that are able to do it. I mean, that's how you're able to create some really good like scripts and whatnot, or actors are really able to get into like their roles. So yeah, 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 yeah. Like accepting many people who have it can be a liberating experience. Yeah, yeah, yeah. For people that have been through a really traumatic event or something like that, uh, or like like say a disability or something, or disabled or something like that, there can be some liberation in that. Well, there can also be some cage in that. It's about like differences and experiences in that of itself. For some people it's a cage. For other people it's liberation. Um, it's just hard to display. Yeah, and then that's exactly it. You hit it right on the head, the real bungus. And yeah, just you keep doing what you're doing. Keep being open and communicating. Open communication is really important. And I guess this will be the number one thing uh, about any friendship, any relationship, anything like in general. And this is something that like you guys, it's really important to go ahead and ask. It's like when someone's going on a vent or someone's trying to tell you something, ask them before like they continue. It's like, hey, I don't mean to stop you, but I just like want to ask for clarification. Do you want me to go ahead and like listen with the intent to respond, or do you want me to listen with the intent to actually understand? Because sometimes we get so hot-headed, or like sometimes our partners may bring up something that like may hit us and we're like we weren't ready for that. For example, if you have a high sex drive and your partner's like, hey, you know what, like I can't keep up, or like what, like we can't do certain things, it can upset you, or it can do certain things. So you best be ready to be like, hey, you know what, like let me go ahead and take this information in and try and understand it on my own, and then like give it a day or two, and then or a day, and you're able to go ahead and respond back, or a couple hours or 15 minutes, however long it takes you to actually process information. Because we tend to, for example, if I was talking to Shakat and Shakat's talking to me about their family or whatever, and I'm like, oh no, they didn't, and what did you do? I'm now inciting more of the violence or more of the uh, energy that's being taken, in case Shakat wanted to go ahead and vent it out and just like let it fall and de-stress. That's fair for me to put it. So anyway, I hope that helps anyone that needed that.
二人とも目を伏せて頭を低くしてくれる。あ、親善だよ。ここはもう。
So I wonder, right, if gods are if gods curse you in this regard, are they really benevolent gods in that sense? Like granted, like yeah, it's a bunch of sketch, bunch of gods. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like that sounds absolutely like atrocious in that regard. And with that being said, if you're going to a ceremony and you're like telling them to help you, or you're expecting it to just be liberated, but you're not contributing, like your part, or you're like, I don't know how to put it, like you're not willing to do anything for yourself, is that really worth like whatever comes? Like for example, if you go there and you're fully accepting and say that like you're 100% there, would it actually work? Or vice versa, if say that I go there and I'm like, I want this off of me, but I just want it because of all the implications that it has, but I'm not willing to take any sacrifice for it. Is there a difference in that form of mentality, that form of thinking? You know, really big points you should just hit on.
何ですか？
一つ。ている学校は
私立直江津高校。
誕生日は
Why does this sound like an intake?
一番好きな小説家は
夢の旧作。
子供の頃の失敗談を聞かせてくれる
言いたくありません。
好きな古典音楽は
Fucked
音
up.
楽はあまりたしなみません。
小学校を卒業するときどう思った
単純に中学校に移るだけだと思いました。公立から公立へ行くだけだったから。
Yeah, pretty
初恋
much.
の男の子はどんな子だったでも犯そうということは未遂だったんだろう
近くにあったスパイクで殴ってやったわ。でもお母さんは私を助けてくれなかった。
そして
私がその幹部に怪我をさせたせいでお母さんは
ペナルティを負った。
はい。
So sadly, and this is why I pointed out, and you guys might be like, oh, he's not really being that empathetic in that regard. It's just, when you're in my line of work, you tend to work with a lot of victims of SA and DV and a lot of other acronyms we can go ahead and throw out there. The best way that I can say it is like there's countless forms of I don't know how to put it, like of abuse out there, right? And it's always just being careful and being sensitive around those topics, and especially if you're like, if with both, it happens to both male and female, but it tends to be more predominantly females that go through some type of abuse, either in the workplace, literally just walking home, whatever it may be. So please be very, very sensitive when approaching any form of topic that you might think is a joke or something like that, because it's clearly not, and it can clearly bring back a lot of trauma and it can be quite triggering. So this is what I'm wondering, right? All the social ramifications, all of the I don't know how to put it. Like as a therapist right now, what I'd instantly be able to say is like, if I was a therapist god and I was like told to go ahead and like take away all of her predispositions, all the whatever curse that they have or whatever, would I take it away? No. At this point in time, and this is gonna sound horrible, right? But no. The boundaries that are up, the walls that have been placed, if you saw earlier when I was talking about like even the how do you put it? The first couple of questions are sort of like shit test questions that even us as therapists we ask to try and see in what stage of change an individual is, right? So, and you guys are probably gonna be like, what are you talking about? So for example, if I was like, oh, I'll just, how's your day been? He's like, I'm not answering. Okay, so automatically I already know that there's already going to be a contention wall and trying to get you to release information. Oh, just what was your favorite childhood memory? He's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have one. Moving on. Oh, just when was your first crush? I don't know. So I can't get any relationship. They don't want to open up about them, what they're feeling, what their emotions are in regards to that. But yet they're stuck on the trauma that may have happened. They haven't truly healed from that trauma that's been there, you know? So then you already know that the centerpiece of what they need to work on for themselves and try and resolve before we can get through all the other layers of whatever you may call enlightenment is quite literally figuring out your place in that world and processing and whatever that may be of that traumatic event, because that's clearly what she opened up about. And then afterwards, there's a lot of social ramifications that especially come with cults and stuff like that. Like being stuck in a cult, I'm pretty sure that like it wasn't easy like coming out of it. Pretty sure there's a lot of social ramifications with mom looking at, you know, kids differently, or even hatred, and all these strong emotions can come tied into it. So I just wonder, you know, out of all the events, out of everything that may have happened, if there's that belief that, like, you know what, I have forgiven myself for whatever may have happened and I'm trying to grow as an individual, or if there's still that, like, strung up belief that, like, you know, there's all this hatred placed on me, and I still haven't forgiven myself because I feel partially to blame, which tends to happen after a big traumatic event where a lot of people, instead of realizing that, like, or instead of like processing emotions correctly or processing all of these hard feelings, what they end up doing is they end up like taking it all on themselves when it's not their fault, you know? Like, for example, she was just a kid, and you can already tell that like the parents in the situation were the ones that like clearly overstepped the boundaries and all of these things. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that, like, you know, the straight up framework as to how psychologists would probably see this. Personally, there would be a lot of therapy that would be needed, like narrative therapy, cognitive behavioral. We can even do like psychodynamics in 1,001 different forms. Because, like, you know, processing of a big traumatic event, even if it wasn't like, you know, SA is still SA, doesn't necessarily have to go all the way through. Like, trauma is still trauma, you know? So coming through like a trauma informed lens, that's what you need to like focus on, and that's what you need to heal. Master, one question: has there been a religion where there's only one God, but the God is evil? I don't know, actually. I'm not that into religiosity. Like, or like, you know, studied a lot of like religion or anything like that per se. But that is actually a good question. Uh, and it's yeah, and that's exactly it, Master of Elements. That, like, your last comment there, it's like, if it's someone, if essentially, even if you're only processing it on your like up top level, like the way that he was doing the countdown is very hypnotic, which is absolutely true. It can also be very grounding. It's a grounding. It's the most grounding techniques are a countdown to something to try and get you in your base level, try and get you the most calm that you can be before you start anything. And if you're unwilling to answer certain things, even for an intake or something like that, there's already walls that need to be addressed.
でも
Oh, crap God.
何か見えるかい？
見えます。あの時と同じ。あの時と同じ。大きなカニが。
You weren't ready. Oh no.
仕方がないな。やれやれ。せっかちな神さんだ。気のいいやつだよ、本当に。何かいいことでもあったのかな。
おい、星野。
あがったよ。方針変更だ。やむをえ。よっ。こら。
My dude judo flipped a god? Damn. Alright, dude.
こういうのって心の持ちつって何をさ、お嬢ちゃん。
Bro, you 驚いただけだから、ちゃんとできますから。自分でできるから。
That'll take you like 10 more episodes, bruh. It's probably episode 2, so I doubt it. Unless there's more characters that are coming.
それから ありがとうございました。
Oh, it might be. Okay.
もういいんです。
Okay.
それは私の気持ちで。
Damn.
戦場ヶ原の母親が悪徳宗教にはまったのは戦場ヶ原が小学5年生の時だったらしい。その頃戦場ヶ原はひどい大病を患った。娘の病気にあたり戦場ヶ原の母親は
Which is what a lot of people turn to. Yeah.
そして戦場ヶ原は大手術の結果九死に一生を得たそうだ。だが亡くしたのだ。自ら
See, we knew she wasn't that wrong.
別に悪いことじゃないんだけどね。特に今回の場合、今さら思いを取り戻したところで母親が帰ってくるわけでも崩壊した家庭が再生するわけでもない。それなのに、それでも、それゆえに戦場ヶ原ひたぎは返して欲しかった、返して欲しがった。もうどうしようもない。
So this crab god is a bad therapist, essentially, right? And Oshino, in that regard, you know, I don't know how to put it. Like, usually you expect people to, crab god equals echidna, apparently, right? Because you, especially a kid, especially someone that's like in high school and stuff. Are you kidding me? Like, most of our brains aren't even like developed enough, even as adults, to process a lot of the trauma and shit that that we go through. Now imagine, right, like being in high school or middle school or some shit like that, and being forced to like face all like your trauma, essentially. You know, I don't know how else to put it. Like that sucks. That's not a good way to go ahead and approach a situation. Well, the realistic aspects of this, right? Like if you were to do this with the kid, if like say that this was taking away the supernatural aspect of it, turning it more into like a therapeutic aspect where a therapist confronted someone and like made them realize whatever was happening, right? Oh, it don't matter, Eldris. At that point in time, like he would probably be held liable in the court or in something like that if someone were to go ahead and sue him for emotional damage in that regard. Just throwing that out there, you know, in the regards of a therapeutic setting, you know, my whole frame of mind is if, and this is a joke, by the way, don't take that like case that proved, yeah, but we're taking away the supernatural aspect of it. We're saying that like just make it as though like Oshino, because of Oshino or because of the dude, she managed to go ahead and have this like emotional moment that she wasn't prepared for. If she came out traumatized because of it, or because she experienced so many things and she wasn't ready for, there is a lot in there that like take that to the crab court that like people aren't ready for. But that's probably the best way I can put it. Like I'm pretty sure a majority of you, if I were like, for example, if I were to go ahead and like pick on like your insecurities, you know, and like keep going at it and like make it harder and harder and harder and harder. It like, you know, in a point of setting, like, you know, even in a ritualistic setting where I force you to face your trauma that you weren't prepared to face at that single moment, even though it's something that like, you know, instead of like taking it step by step, it would be too much. It'd be too much for anyone at that point in time. But yeah, that's probably the best way I can put it. Like, you know, then that's me taking the supernatural aspect out of it, putting the supernatural aspect back in. Yo, if a god, yeah, exactly. You can't have suddenly have people face, yeah. Let me, and then I'll go into the supernatural aspect. People can't suddenly face like for example, if you had an ex that cheated on you and like you're completely devastated. If like, you know, if we're doing therapy and I was like, hey, guess what, dude? Here's the ex. Come on into the room. You're not going to be ready for that. You're going to fucking hate me. There's going to be so much emotions that come out of it, that come out of you, because that wound is still fresh. It's still there, especially if it had just happened. And there'd be like, essentially like you'd feel betrayed. So many emotions rushing towards you. And even like, imagine then groveling to try and like ask your ex, your partner, whatever it is, to ask for your feelings or ask for your whatever back, right? So that's probably the best way I can go ahead and put that out there. It's not a cool feeling. It's not a cool thing to do. So if you see a friend or you see anyone going through some deep shit, instead of being like, hey, let's talk about that, let me get you there, be like, hey, go talk to a therapist, dude. Or like, you know, don't be a therapist yourself. Send them off to professional help in whatever best way that you can go ahead and. Oh no. Oh no. But no, that's probably the best way I can go ahead and put it is like, you know, in any aspect like that, send them for professional help. If you yourself need it, ask for professional help. It's 1,000% okay. Even therapists have therapists, if that makes sense. That's the best way I can put it. Like everyone should go ahead and like even if you're dealing with anxiety or something small, you don't jump into the deep end. You take it one step at a time so that you're ready for the deep end. But anyway, through a supernatural aspect, I mean, yeah, God could probably do or undo what you want. Sort of a dick of a God, you know, he's probably thought it was doing its best to take away all your stress, but at the same time, being a God or kind of like a God, if they were on like omnipotent, it's kind of a dick move in that regard, you know? Sort of like, yeah, yeah. But anyway, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind just taking all the gods down in this world.
少なくとも大切な友達が一人できたのだから。
誰のことだ？
Oh,
あなたのことよ。
oh.
ありがとう、アララギ。ずうずうしいかもしれないけれど、これからも仲良くしてくれたら、私とても嬉しいわ。
Oh.
兄ちゃん、朝だぞこら。
いい加減に起きないとダメだよ。
さっき寝たばっかりなのに。
はあ、さてはまた夜更かししてやがったな。
もう朝ごはん食べてないのお兄ちゃん。
そうだぞに。
しかし体がだるい。熱でもあるみたいだ。ちなみに僕の体重は55キロ。でも
おいおい。
なるほど。神様ってのは確かに大雑把な連中らしい。
Damn. I was about to say, seeing as though he got bodied, dude. That was a straight up just judo flip, judo throw. Like amazing position from that dude right there. But it looks like that dude could throw hands. I'm not even kidding. It looks like he could like definitely throw hands for a bit. Yeah. But no, like even if it was a god, say it was like a god of mischief, right? God of mischiefs wouldn't like in some aspect they do have to have some sort of knowledge as to who or what they're gonna do mischief on, right? So in that regard, even a god in that setting is still questionable. A lot of these things that are being called gods and not gods are really, really questionable in that regard. When I'm like it, and in case you guys are wondering, do cults really get that bad? Yes, they can. And yes, they exist all throughout the world. I know in Japan, it was very prevalent that like a lot of cult-like behavior as well. I believe there's it goes into a good portion of it. I forget in which Japanese show on Netflix. I think it was like either The Naked Director or something like that. I forgot which one it is, where they actually show a pretty good aspect of like what cult-like behavior can be like and how it can affect an individual even growing up in that setting. Even though, of course, that's not the main aspect of the show. It's only a small snippets throughout for a character background. But still, like, really, really important to go ahead and, like, know that, like, people out there will literally fall into groups and kind of follow cultish behavior. So, yeah. Deep anime, really, really interesting. I feel like there was a lot more to go ahead and dive into, especially in regards to that. Yeah, I mean, Staples can make very good attach. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but it can also make really. It can attach things that weren't supposed to be attached together, and sometimes staples will fall apart. You know, like things that were meant to be held together. Sometimes staples don't hold them all the way. One of the biggest things that we don't appreciate enough, just in general, is sort of the inclusion of language or how language is used or how things are worded in general and interactions and whatnot. Because if you're a very careful person, your words can carry a lot of weight. So going forward, just be mindful of that. Like, even though other people might be weightless, your words can carry a lot of weight and you can do a lot of damage without meaning to do so. But anyway, that was that. That was absolutely that. I don't feel like going into another anime just because that was really good and I want to go ahead and just process that. So I'll go ahead and just go into Metal Gear, dude. Fuck it. I'll have some downtime and chill. But yeah, feel free to ask any ReZero questions or anything like that. For those of you on YouTube, we'll catch you later. That's probably the best way I can put it. That was pretty fucking sick. That was a pretty good second episode. I was going to do Vivi episode 4, either that or Anohana. But yeah, we'll save that for another day because my brain is right now kind of overloaded with that episode. Damn, guys. What do I think about the quote unquote fans? Bro, the episodes, yeah. For Monogatari, I'm just gonna keep that to the side, especially after we've just finished this episode. But I will say this: I think it's very inclusive. Like all the shots are sort of proportional in that regard. Though I can see why it's a major turnoff for a lot of people, especially if they're not just used to dialogue-heavy shows. And that's nothing to fault them in any way, shape, or form. Some people come to watch anime that are action heavy. Some people watch it for dialogue filled or whatever's out there, I just feel like sometimes a lot of dialogue heavy shows get a lot of shit that they don't deserve in that regard. So I hope that makes sense.